or a turban for Sikhs and things like that, kufi or a hijab for Muslims, that's something that's, unless it's a safety hazard, it's allowed in the workplace.
Okay. And I mean, how successful are you in intervening?
Actually, most of the time when we have people who we educate them, we understand what the practices are and what the law is, they're pretty, they really usually go along with it, and they try to make accommodations necessary. There are times where we really need to make it sort of a legal action and have them, in terms of going to the EEOC or consulting an attorney. But generally that's the minority of the times.
And so a majority of the cases you feel are not really based on bias, but just of ignorance about what Islam requires of Muslims.
That's right, ignorance of what Islam is and also of what their responsibilities under the law are. We're also trying to help people, especially the Muslim community, get a better understanding of the being active in the government here in terms of getting to know your elected representatives, understanding what the issues are, and then voting properly.
Yeah, voting is, I mean, how important is it for Muslims to understand the need for them as Americans to make sure they have some say-so in who the people are elected to office, because maybe a lot of Muslims feel that they can't really affect any change or outcome. So how do you try to explain to the people it's important for them to get involved at all levels of government in voting?
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, even on the national scale you have one vote versus several million people, hundreds of million people in the United States, but one vote counts, because as you looked in the last election or back in 2000, when so many votes came down to the wire and had to counted one by one, basically it really shows the power of one vote, and not just multiplying that within our community, making sure people understand the issues and basically what their representatives are standing for. That's what really we want to be. Even if we don't care what side they vote for, we just want to make sure they understand the process, that they're allowed to go and vote properly, and that they know the people they're voting for and what they stand for.
And some people, American and people from outside of America, they ask about the dawah in America and how it's going. And they sometimes ask me why we don't see so many Caucasian Muslims accepting Islam.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely a minority within the Muslims here in America. But I think it's something that's definitely needed. I think there's a lot of misperceptions that the media propagate here in America. So I think it's difficult for especially Caucasians to really see through what's real in Islam, and that's something we try to do when we go out and talk to the community. We give presentations to law enforcement and to hospitals and other areas to just dispel the myths about Islam and Muslims, and basically help them better understand the community that they're working in terms of when they run across Muslims, or whether it to be home or maybe someone's praying in the car, they don't understand what they're doing. We try to explain that we have to pray 5 times a day, and sometimes you see a person doing sujood in the car, and maybe they don't understand why they're banging their head on the steering wheel. So, that's the way we have to tell the law enforcement, that and other people that this is just our beliefs, and this is how you may come across these in your daily life.
Right, and when you have these outreach activities, and you come to trying to address some of the points of misconceptions, what are the most important ones and common ones you always try to make sure you tackle?
Well, jihad is obviously a big one. The difference between Sunnis and Shias, women's rights in Islam, those are the big 3, I guess you have to say right now. But the jihad word, it's all over the news right now, and trying to dispel the myths about what it means in terms of holy war, which is a total misconception, but also the women's rights in Islam, and explain to them that women's are protected in Islam, and that a lot of the abuses that we see are not because of religion; it's in spite of the religion.
Alhamdulillah. Well, Brother Yusuf, very nice to meet you and very nice to talk to you.
Good.
And alhamdulillah, with care and all your other efforts, inshallah, Allah, He give you the success with that.
Thank you.
But before we conclude, I'd just like to ask you now, as a Muslim since 1996 here in America, you've seen Islam grow, and I want to know from you, what do you think is the future outlook for Islam in America?
There's a lot of struggle here, but I think the future looks bright. As long as we stick to our principles as being a good Muslim and our principles in Islam, I really think that we have a bright future here in America.
Okay, Brother Yusuf, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope that our viewers are able to take a bit more insight of what life is like for Muslims here in the United States.